I still remember the moment my life took an unexpected turn, a moment that feels as fresh as if it were yesterday. Standing alone in my small apartment in New Jersey, surrounded by multiple screens displaying lines of code, I stared blankly at the digital realm that had offered me a comfortable life. But comfort, I realized, was beginning to strangle my spirit. I was Mark, 25, a mobile app developer, but more importantly, I was hungry for adventure. The urge to explore, to experience life outside of sterile coffee shops and office cubicles, grew stronger with each passing day. I spent nights imagining faraway places, vibrant cultures, and breathtaking landscapes. I thought of ancient temples in Asia, bustling markets in Africa, and serene beaches in South America. My head was filled with romanticized notions of what travel could mean for me. Yet, with each fantasy came a voice, a nagging reminder of the risks involved: money, safety, isolation. What if I got lost? What if something awful happened? But deep down, I knew that true growth lay in stepping out of my comfort zone. Preparation took months, each day filled with a battle between my logical mind and my yearning for adventure. I crafted a detailed itinerary, researching countries I wanted to visit, balancing between distant lands and the familiar ease of European cities. The planning frenzy consumed me, turning into late-night sessions poring over travel blogs and forums, making lists and spreadsheets in my endless quest for information. I meticulously arranged my finances, ensuring I had enough to sustain myself, but uncertainty gnawed at my confidence. There was no guide for this journey, no script to follow. The packing process was a whole adventure in itself. I stripped my wardrobe down to essentials, the classic traveler's dilemma. How could I carry everything I might need while fitting it all into one backpack? In the last moments before I zipped it shut, I hesitated, struck by the enormity of what I was about to do. Each item held its own significance. A well-worn notebook I'd carry to document my journey, a camera to capture moments that could slip through time, and a couple of books that had shaped my worldview. As I boarded the plane, the weight of my decisions felt like a boulder on my chest. The dawn of my first destination brought with it a wave of exhilaration mixed with anxiety. Arriving in Tokyo, I was immediately struck by the contrast between my ordinary life and the vibrant, pulsating energy of this bustling city. My senses were overwhelmed. Neon signs illuminating streets that brimmed with life, aromas of street food twirling in the air, and the harmonized sounds of a culture that thrived under the surface of my assumptions. Each step I took felt cartoonishly exaggerated, full of wide-eyed wonder. At first, I was paralyzed by indecision, crammed between the immersive experiences and my lurking self-doubt. How could someone like me, just a techie from a small town, navigate the complexities of a foreign city? The fear of being an outsider clawed at me. Yet, as I wandered the streets, I realized that the very act of exploration began to dissolve that fear. Striking up conversations with locals, fumbling with a few Japanese phrases, I found warmth in their kindness. Each interaction chipped away at my anxiety, revealing that we are all just humans trying to connect. Days turned into weeks, and after Japan, I journeyed through Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia. Each country brought its own set of challenges: food that sometimes didn't agree with my stomach, navigating chaotic traffic on scooters, or deciphering public transport systems. Yet, it was in these moments of discomfort that I discovered my resilience. I remember one particularly harrowing journey in Vietnam, that chaotic bus ride through sharp turns and narrow roads. I was surrounded by the local population, their faces painted with the same mix of anticipation and trepidation as mine. But amidst the chaos, I found a strange sense of camaraderie that buoyed my spirits. We laughed together, even when we didn't entirely understand each other. Then came the week-long trek through the jungles of Cambodia, where I met a group of travelers like myself, seeking out experiences outside of their everyday lives. We bonded over our shared thrill and fear, hiking up ancient temples and swimming in crystal-clear waterfalls. But it was in those dense jungles, surrounded by towering trees and an orchestra of wildlife, that I found unpredictability. One evening, we got caught in a sudden tropical storm. Thunder crashed like a drum, pouring rain soaked us to the bone, and disoriented, We took shelter in a modest hut. There, we shared stories of our lives, our fears, our aspirations, realizing how similar our struggles were despite coming from different corners of the world. As my journey continued, through the deserts of Australia, the vineyards of Europe, and the vibrant markets of Morocco, my heart opened to the sheer beauty and chaos of our world. Each destination taught me something new. The vastness of the Australian outback left me in awe of nature's power, making my everyday worries feel so insignificant. Rolling vineyards in Tuscany reminded me of the simple joys of life and the importance of savoring moments. But it wasn't always easy. There were days when loneliness gnawed at my spirit, moments when I missed the familiar comforts of home. The realization of isolation would sometimes wash over me, a tide pulling at my resolve. I learned to confront those feelings, to acknowledge them without letting them derail my journey. Picking up my notebook, I found solace in writing down my thoughts, reflecting on my internal struggles, and visualizing what I truly sought from this journey. Morocco was a revelation of sights and sounds unlike anything I had encountered. Wandering through the maze-like streets of Marrakesh, I was swept away in a sea of colors and aromas. But even in its beauty, the city held dangers. Pickpockets lurked, and the unfamiliar language made navigation tricky. I often found myself lost, both on the streets and within my own mind. Yet, each time I stumbled upon an unexpected alleyway filled with art, or stumbled into a market overflowing with spices, I felt invigorated. My intuition began to guide me, turning risk into reward. As I approached the latter part of my expedition, there was a palpable shift within me. My internal struggles had morphed into a fierce determination. I had begun to feel at home in the uncomfortable, and the world unfurled itself like a map waiting for me to explore. I spoke with travelers, shared stories, and learned about their journeys. It ignited a sense of community. In a small cafe in Berlin, I found myself in deep conversation with an artist who poured her spirit into her work, sharing her struggles with mental health amid creative pursuits. It resonated with my own internal battles. Every conversation became an exchange of healing. Each leg of my journey is a chapter marked by countless memories and experiences. With every new country, I sculpted a better version of myself, confronting fears that once clouded my vision. Finally, I found myself in the majestic landscapes of Patagonia, vast glaciers and jagged mountains reflecting the resilience of nature. As I stood atop a hill, windswept and watching the sun dip below the horizon, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over me. In that moment, I realized the journey was never merely about the destinations. It had always been about the steps I took, the lessons I learned, and the person I was becoming. Standing in that breathtaking landscape, I felt a crescendo of emotions. Grateful for every encounter, every hiccup, every ounce of fear faced and conquered. This journey had transformed me. I had emerged with courage, a renewed spirit, and a deeper appreciation for human connections. I was no longer just a tech guy locked away behind screens. I had become Mark the Explorer. As I traced the outline of my adventure in my journal, I knew that when the time came to return home, I would carry these experiences like a badge, a tale of boldness and discovery. Though my feet would provide a path back to my familiar life, my heart would remain a nomad, forever changed by the dangerous yet beautiful threads woven through the fabric of my adventures. This world, so vast and intricately interwoven, had opened its arms and welcomed a seeker who stood ready to embrace the unknown. As the plane touched down on the vibrant tarmac of Tokyo International Airport, a whirlwind of emotions began to surge through my veins. The moment I stepped off the plane, a wave of humidity embraced me like an old friend. Yet the air was infused with something uniquely electrifying. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of trepidation and excitement pulsing with each beat. Navigating through the airport, I was struck by the organized chaos that surrounded me. Signs adorned with unfamiliar characters loomed above, and a cacophony of voices filled my ears, ranging from the soft whispers of travelers lost in thought to the lively chatter of locals going about their day. I felt small and out of place, my Western sensibilities clashing with the vibrant tapestry of Japanese culture unfolding before me. Was I ready for this? Doubt crept in. but my resolve pushed it aside. I was here, and there was no turning back now. As I stepped outside, the streets of Tokyo sprawled before me, a labyrinth of towering skyscrapers and serene temples intertwined seamlessly. The hustle and bustle of the city was a symphony of life. The beeping of crossing signals, the rhythmic clatter of footfalls against pavement, and the distant echo of laughter spilled into the air. I stood frozen for a moment, taking it all in, watching as people moved with purpose and grace, each person a thread in the intricate fabric of this metropolis. I embarked on my first steps into the heart of the city. The initial fear began to dissipate, replaced by a surge of euphoric freedom. Every corner held a surprise. An inviting cafe, the aroma of sizzling street food calling out to my senses, or the mesmerizing sight of cherry blossoms in full bloom, assuring me of nature's presence even in this urban jungle. I quickly became aware of the stark contrast between the traditions that respected the past and the modernity that propelled the country forward. Japan was a delicate dance between the old and the new, and I found myself captivated by the harmony that resonated within. Strolling through Shinjuku, the neon lights illuminated the night sky like stars that had chosen to descend upon the earth. I watched in awe as the vibrant colors reflected off glass surfaces, creating kaleidoscopes of light that intoxicated my senses. Each moment felt monumental, yet I was reminded of my solitude. I was just one traveler among millions, grappling with a profound sense of insignificance. The weight of the world seemed heavy on my shoulders, yet it was liberating to experience this city alone. I had not just embarked on a physical journey. I had entered into an exploration of my own mind. As I continued to wander, I sought refuge in a small, tucked-away temple. The tranquility that enveloped me was a sharp contrast to the lively chaos outside. I took a deep breath, allowing my spirit to ground itself in the moment. The rustling leaves whispered wisdom, and I felt connected to something greater than myself. In that serene space, I started reflecting on the path I had chosen. Was I truly following my dreams? Or had I simply succumbed to the allure of adventure, driven more by the aesthetics of travel than the convictions of my heart? The doubts returned, but they were tempered by inspiration. I thought of the stories I wanted to tell and the experiences I craved. Here, in Tokyo, every street seemed to hold a narrative just waiting for my touch. I could immerse myself in a new culture, taste flavors I had only read about, and meet people whose backgrounds were as rich as the city itself. The fear of the unknown morphed into an exhilarating anticipation, a hunger for discovery that surged through me. Emerging from the temple, I found myself in a bustling market, hawkers calling out, enticing me to sample their wares. Freshly skewered yakitori, sweet melon bread, and steaming bowls of ramen wafted through the air, each scent drawing me closer. I surrendered to the delight of culinary exploration, and as each bite danced upon my tongue, I savored not just the flavor but the stories behind the food. Recipes passed down through generations, the heart of the culture simmering within every dish. As twilight fell, I made my way to the iconic Shibuya crossing. Standing at the edge, I watched as the light turned green, and a wave of humanity surged forward. I joined this moving mass, engulfed in the pulse of Tokyo. The feeling of connection among strangers, each with their own stories and journeys, was overwhelming. I felt my fears dissolve, replaced by a sense of belonging. In this moment, I was not just an observer but an integral part of the city's rhythm. As I crossed the street, I took a moment to look up at the colossal screens showcasing advertisements and music videos, their glow casting a surreal ambience across the crowd. Enthralled by this cacophony, I felt a moment of clarity. I realized that my journey was not about conquering new territories, but about opening my heart to what each experience had to offer. Whether it brought joy, confusion, or melancholy, it was all part of the narrative I was weaving. The night continued to unfold itself as I ventured deeper into the city, each step forward revealing a new facet of Tokyo. I allowed myself to get lost in wandering the winding alleyways of Akihabara, the electronic town that buzzed with life and energy. I stumbled upon tiny shops selling everything from manga to robotics, and each corner seemed to take me further away from my initial fears, indulging my imagination and igniting a burgeoning curiosity. I captured moments through the lens of my camera, each click a testament to my growth, my exploration transforming from mere tourism to an art form, a way of expressing not just the sights but the emotions that flowed through me like the mesmerizing currents of the city. In those moments, the weight of my solitude became a shield, protecting me while simultaneously inviting connection. The following day, I awoke to the soft chime of my alarm, the anticipation of a fresh adventure sparking renewed energy within me. Though trepidation still lingered at the edges of my thoughts, it was met with an unyielding fire of inspiration. I was determined to embrace every facet of Tokyo and explore its streets with an open heart and curious mind. Over the next few days, I delved into the rich tapestry of the city, each day adding more colors to the canvas of my journey. I visited the historic Asakusa and marveled at the Sensoji Temple, feeling the weight of history seep into my bones. I learned to bow and exchange pleasantries with shopkeepers, slowly overcoming the barriers of language and culture. With each interaction, the initial fear that had gripped my heart began to fade, replaced by a warmth that wrapped around me like a soft blanket. Through it all, doubt transformed into questions, questions into understanding. I began to see that the essence of travel lay not just in the destinations but in the connections made, the lessons learned, and the courage to step into the unknown. I felt a deeper bond with Tokyo, and by extension, with myself. A unique tapestry of experiences, emotions, and stories interwoven into the rush of everyday life. In this vibrant city, I discovered that fear was not an enemy but a guide. It led me to moments that shaped me, urging me to step outside of my comfort zone. The world expanded before me, and as I navigated the energetic streets, I found solace in the understanding that every step I took was part of a much larger adventure, one that would continue long after I left this beautiful city behind. And so, my journey in Tokyo was not merely a chapter in my travel story, but an invitation to embark on an odyssey of self-discovery. And with that realization, I stepped forward, ready for whatever awaited me around the next corner. Tokyo was the first city I visited on my journey, and from the moment I stepped off the plane, I was engulfed in a world that felt both thrilling and overwhelming. The airport buzzed with a symphony of unfamiliar sounds, the rapid chatter of voices, the rustling of plastic bags, and the soft hum of announcements made in a language I barely understood. It was like being dropped into a vibrant painting, splattered with bright colors and intricate details that danced before my eyes. As I made my way through the terminal, the air shimmered with a mixture of perfumes and aromas, ranging from the sweet scent of cherry blossoms to the savory fragrance of grilled meat wafting from food stalls. My mouth watered as I caught sight of delicious bento boxes on display, each one a work of art, meticulously arranged with vibrant vegetables, plump rice balls, and succulent fish. With every breath, I was captivated, even though the fear of the unknown tightened its grip around me. Stepping out into the bustling streets of Tokyo was like entering another dimension. The city pulsed with energy. Neon lights flashed above me, illuminating the night sky, and an explosion of people filled the sidewalks. I was swept along, sometimes bumping into others, their laughter ringing in my ears. Some faces were welcoming, while others were aloof, a reminder of the cultural differences that surrounded me. I felt small amidst the throngs, a single in a sea of humanity, and yet there was also a sense of exhilaration running through my veins. Adapting to the local culture was not without its challenges. I was acutely aware of my limitations when it came to the language. Simple tasks, like ordering food, became daunting, riddled with anxiety as I pointed at pictures and hoped for the best. The locals were incredibly kind, often smiling and patiently helping me through my attempts, my words stumbling out in a haphazard jumble. One evening, I found myself in a small izakaya, the air thick with the scent of grilled chicken and sake. I wanted to try an authentic dish, but the menu was a puzzle. As I attempted to communicate, the waitress simply laughed and brought me her favorite, grilled fish with a side of tangy pickled vegetables. That bite was an explosion of flavors, a reminder of why I loved to travel. Amidst the vibrant streets and mouth-watering food, I often felt an undercurrent of loneliness. Alone in a foreign land, I would find myself sitting quietly in parks or on subways, observing the world around me. People laughed together, shared stories, and connected in ways I longed to be a part of. Each smile was a reminder of the invisible wall that my lack of language built between us. In those moments, I wrestled with feelings of homesickness, the comfort of familiarity beckoning me from afar. Yet, I knew that if I were to embrace this journey fully, I had to confront my fears. One afternoon, I ventured into Winnow Park, where the blooming cherry blossoms stole my breath away. I found a place to sit under the blooming trees, surrounded by picnicking families and friends. It was a tapestry of joy and camaraderie. I felt a pang of envy but also inspiration. I took out my journal and began to scribble down my thoughts, pouring my emotions onto the pages. The birds chirped cheerfully, and I let the sound wash over me. Then, as if drawn by some unseen force, I struck up a conversation with a young woman sitting nearby. We exchanged broken sentences and gestures, laughter bridging the gap. In that moment, the world felt a little less daunting. In my exploration, I also navigated the intricacies of social etiquette that was both fascinating and perplexing. I learned the importance of silence, the gift of listening, and the deep respect that flowed through every interaction. I started to notice how bowing wasn't merely a gesture but an expression of gratitude, connection, and sincerity. While the language barrier seemed insurmountable at times, I discovered that genuine smiles and small gestures could cross any divide. Food became my ally in this cultural immersion. Each meal was not just sustenance but an adventure. I braved new tastes, from the slightly bitter matcha to the crunchy texture of seaweed. One night, I gathered enough courage to try sushi at a busy conveyor belt restaurant. As the colorful plates whizzed past me, I was filled with excitement. Hesitation turned into delight with every bite. The fresh fish melted on my tongue, and I felt a sense of belonging in this tiny corner of the world. Throughout my stay, I found ways to challenge my fears. I took the subway alone, feeling the rhythm of the city coursing through me as I navigated the complex map. I joined a tea ceremony workshop, where I learned the delicate art of preparation, feeling a deep appreciation for the rituals that had been practiced for centuries. Each new experience chipped away at my loneliness, leaving space for connection and understanding. As my time in Tokyo drew to a close, I reflected on the whirlwind of emotions that had accompanied my adventure. I had stumbled, yes, through language miscommunications and moments of doubt, but with every misstep came growth. I embraced the unfamiliarity, learned to celebrate the small victories, and discovered beauty in vulnerability. Leaving Tokyo, I felt a mixture of nostalgia and excitement for what lay ahead. I was no longer just a visitor. I was a participant in a vibrant mosaic of cultures, having forged a piece of that captivating city within my heart. My journey was only beginning, but I felt emboldened and ready to face the world, equipped with the lessons learned amidst the cherry blossoms and the kindness of strangers. Visiting Tokyo is like stepping into a vibrant tapestry woven from various threads of tradition and modernity, each location you encounter telling a different story. One of the first places I found myself enchanted by was the historic district of Asakusa, home to Sensoji, Tokyo's oldest temple. As I walked through the iconic Kamenarman Gate, the giant red lantern swinging gently in the breeze, I felt the weight of the past enveloping me. The approach to the temple, known as Nakamai Street, was lined with traditional shops selling everything from delicious ninjyoyaki, small cakes filled with red bean paste, to colorful kites and souvenirs. The atmosphere was alive with the chatter of visitors and the scent of freshly made snacks wafting through the air, creating a sensory overload that was delightful. Another gem in the sprawling metropolis is the Winnow Park area, a green oasis amidst the bustling city. The park hosts several museums, including the Tokyo National Museum, where I marveled at ancient samurai armor and delicate pottery. The park is particularly famous during cherry blossom season, when hundreds of cherry trees burst into bloom, creating a breathtaking spectacle that attracts crowds eager to enjoy hanami picnics beneath the pink petals. As I strolled through, I took a moment to relax by Shinabazu Pond, home to lovely lotus flowers that seemed to dance with the gentle ripples of the water. Shibuya, Another emblematic neighborhood is renowned for the iconic Shibuya crossing, one of the busiest pedestrian intersections in the world. Standing on one of the corners, I watched as waves of people flooded in 8 directions as the traffic lights turned red. The scene felt chaotic yet strangely orchestrated, like a well-rehearsed dance. Just a stone's throw away is the Hachiko statue, a tribute to the loyal Akita dog who waited for his owner every day at the station long after his passing. The statue draws tourists and locals alike, a poignant reminder of loyalty amidst the urban hustle. In the vicinity of Shibuya lies Harajuku, a neighborhood celebrated for its youthful street fashion and quirky pop culture. On Takeshita Street, shops burst with vibrant colors showcasing the latest trends, from bubble gum pink wigs to intricate Lolita dresses. I was captivated by the eclectic mix of styles and the energy of the crowd. Nearby, Meiji Shrine offers a serene escape from the chaos. Nestled within a lush forest, the shrine is dedicated to Emperor Meiji and Empress Shokin. Walking through the grand torii gates, I found solace as I listened to the gentle rustling of leaves while appreciating the traditional Shinto architecture. Moving towards the central part of the city, I visited the Imperial Palace, a magnificent blend of nature and history. Although access to the inner grounds is restricted, the East Garden is open to the public and provides a beautiful setting to enjoy the meticulously maintained landscapes and historic remnants of the Edo Castle. The contrast between the ancient stone walls and the modern skyline of Tokyo in the background added to the beauty of this tranquil retreat. On the other hand, Akihabara is known as the epicenter of otaku culture, a paradise for anime and manga enthusiasts. The streets are lined with shops selling everything from figurines to vintage games. I wandered into one of the famous maid cafes, where waitresses dressed in frilly outfits served themed dishes with an abundance of cuteness and cheer. The atmosphere was playful and whimsical, a testament to the unique subcultures that thrive in Tokyo. For a more peaceful experience, I explored Yanaka, one of the few areas in Tokyo that survived the bombings of World War II, retaining a nostalgic charm. The narrow streets are lined with traditional wooden houses, small temples, and cozy cafes. I stumbled upon Yanaka Cemetery, where cherry blossoms painted the pathways in soft pink, offering a beautiful and reflective atmosphere that contrasted with the bustling city. A visit to Tokyo would also be incomplete without experiencing its incredible culinary scene. I found myself in Tsukiji Outer Market, where I indulged in fresh sushi and seafood delicacies. The lively market was filled with vendors showcasing the day's catch, and I was tempted by the vibrant colors and fresh aromas emanating from every stall. Trying a slice of melt-in-your-mouth tuna sashimi was a highlight of my gastronomic journey. Nyanbashi, a historic area that served as the starting point for the 5 main roads of Japan during the Edo period, represents the old Tokyo in a modern context. The area has revitalized its traditional roots while integrating contemporary design. The iconic Fukudoku Shrine and the striking Nyanbashi Bridge sit juxtaposed to skyscrapers, making it a fascinating area to explore. Lastly, I made my way to Odaiba, a futuristic man-made island in Tokyo Bay that showcases innovative architecture and stunning views of the Rainbow Bridge. The unique blend of shopping, dining, and entertainment options makes it a delightful place to spend an afternoon. I took a ride on the iconic Ferris wheel that towers over the landscape, offering breathtaking panoramic views of the city skyline across the waterfront. These experiences in Tokyo, from the serene tranquility of ancient shrines to the bustling energy of urban centers, painted a vivid picture of a city that is as multifaceted as those who inhabit it. Each location told its own story, and collectively, they captured the essence of Tokyo's enduring charm, leaving me with cherished memories that would last a lifetime. As I stepped off the bus into the bustling city, the world around me felt both exhilarating and overwhelmingly chaotic. The cacophony of honking horns, shouting vendors, and the constant thrum of footsteps created a soundtrack of vibrant urban life. I had always dreamed of living in a big city, but now that I was here, the reality was a mix of excitement and anxiety. I looked around, trying to remember which direction the hostel was in, glancing nervously at my phone for guidance. Navigating public transportation had always been a bit daunting for me, but I knew it was essential. This city moved fast, and I needed to keep up. I hopped onto the subway, white-knuckling the metal pole as the train lurched forward. My heart raced as I watched the stations blur by. Each stop was a reminder of how far I was from home. The moment I stepped off the train, I realized I had made a mistake. Instead of heading to my hostel, I had gotten off at a stop that was teeming with life, but far from my destination. The streets were packed with people, their faces a mix of determination and frenzied energy. I felt a wave of uncertainty wash over me. What should I do? Where was I supposed to go? As I stood there, a bit lost in the storm of humanity, an elderly woman approached me. She had a warm smile that broke through my haze of confusion. "You look like you could use some help," she said, her voice a soothing balm. I explained my predicament, and with a kind nod, she pointed me in the right direction. Her gracefulness in that chaotic moment made me feel a sense of connection and reminded me that kindness still existed in the bustle. With renewed determination, I continued on my way, but the city proved to be a labyrinthine challenge. I stumbled upon a street fair, an explosion of colors, scents, and the sounds of live music. Vendors lined the streets, their stalls overflowing with handmade crafts and tantalizing foods. Temptation tugged at me, but I pushed through, reminding myself that I had a purpose and a destination. However, the festive atmosphere was contagious, and I could not resist stopping for a moment to enjoy a bite of delicious street food. It was a small victory, one that revitalized my spirit and convinced me I could conquer this place. Just as I was about to leave, I heard laughter and conversation coming from a nearby table. A group of young people smiled and waved me over. Despite my initial inclination to keep moving, there was something inviting about their energy. I joined them, and within moments we were deep in conversation. They were locals, and they welcomed me with open arms, sharing stories of their lives in the city while I shared snippets of my journey. It felt like I had stumbled upon a hidden gem among the urban hustle, a moment of connection amid the chaos. But the euphoria of the encounter was short-lived. As the sun began to set, shadows crept in, and the atmosphere shifted. I was reminded that the city held dangers lurking just beneath its vibrant surface. I wanted to stay with my new friends, but a gut feeling warned me to be cautious. I had to navigate this world with care. I bid them farewell, promising to meet again, and made my way towards the hostel. The streets grew darker, and I felt an unsettling tension in the air. The bright lights overhead cast strange shadows, and I began to feel as if I were being watched. The thrill of the city turned into a wave of anxiety. I tightened my grip on my bag, quickening my pace. Just as I began to doubt my decision to embark on this adventure, a group of teenagers passed by. They were laughing and joking, their energy infectious. One of them gave me a high five, bringing a smile to my face. It was as if the universe was reminding me that amidst the dangers, there were still moments of joy and connection. Finally, after what felt like hours, I arrived at the hostel. The warmth of the lobby and the chatter of travelers from all over the world enveloped me in a comforting embrace. I checked in, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. I was safe, and I had made it through the initial storm of overwhelming sensations. As I sat in the common area, sharing stories with fellow travelers, I realized that I was forging bonds that went beyond mere acquaintances. But even as I settled in, a nagging sense of vulnerability lingered. Each new friend I made brought the potential for more connection, yet also the risk of danger. In this city, I had to learn to navigate not just the physical environment, but the emotional landscape of trust and caution. Over the next few weeks, my experience swelled with highs and lows, a roller coaster of emotions that reflected the city's dynamic nature. I tackled the public transport system with increasing confidence, eventually mastering the subway routes and bus schedules. Each successful trip brought a sense of accomplishment and a growing familiarity, yet every time I stepped outside, there remained a flickering doubt. I met people from all walks of life, artists, musicians, students, and dreamers, who shared their struggles and victories with me. There were moments when fear threatened to overwhelm me, particularly late at night when the streets seemed emptier, casting shadows that danced unpredictably. Yet, there were also nights filled with laughter, dancing under the stars with my new friends, becoming part of a larger collective of dreamers who challenged the world around us. One rainy evening, I sought refuge in a local cafe, weary from the day and its uncertainties. As I sipped my coffee, I overheard a conversation at the next table. A young man was passionately describing his dream of starting a nonprofit to help struggling artists. His words sparked something within me, an inspiration I hadn't anticipated. Listening to him, my spirit lifted, revealing an inner resolve to pursue my passions, even amid self-doubt. It was as though through his dreams, I found clarity for my own hopes. Yet, life in the city remained unpredictable. I encountered periods of loneliness that crept in when the company of friends faded. I had moments of despair when my attempts to connect felt futile. One night, after a series of unexpected rejections from art galleries, I found myself sitting on a park bench, tears welling in my eyes as I questioned my place in this vast city. But just as despair was settling in, a stray dog approached me. Its wet fur and wagging tail seemed to understand my sorrow, offering companionship in that moment of vulnerability. I laughed through my tears, feeling a connection to this creature that had wandered into my life. A reminder that hope and joy can come from unexpected places. I learned that every day was a choice between connection and isolation, courage and fear. I met people who pushed me to step outside my comfort zone and embrace the chaos of the world. I discovered art in the unlikeliest of corners, murals on alley walls, obscure galleries hidden among busy storefronts, musicians playing on sidewalks. I felt alive in a way I had never experienced before. Realization that every struggle I faced was part of a larger journey of self-discovery. The city continued to challenge me, but it also offered moments of beauty and grace that fueled my spirit. I had come looking for adventure, but what I found was growth, an understanding of myself and a deeper connection to others around me. As I navigated the intertwining paths of friendship and solitude, danger and beauty, I began to see the city not just as a backdrop, but as a living entity, a part of my story. With each stranger who became a friend and each moment of doubt that transformed into resilience, I started to understand that the journey itself was my greatest teacher. Through challenges and triumphs, I felt the pulse of the city echoing within me, a reminder that in embracing all that life has to offer, I was finding my place in this vast, beautiful world. Once upon a time, I found myself in the vibrant city of Tokyo, a place that was both familiar from countless images and yet utterly foreign as I stepped onto its bustling streets. The neon lights lit up the night like a million fireflies, and the energy of the city was palpable. I had come for a short vacation, seeking a break from my routine, but little did I know that this journey would turn into an adventure that would change my life. On my second day, I decided to explore the famed Akihabara district, known for its electronics and otaku culture. As I wandered through the myriad of shops, lost in the bright displays of gadgets and anime paraphernalia, I noticed a small, unassuming alley tucked away from the main street. Something drew me to it, an instinct I couldn't quite explain. As I walked deeper into the alley, the noise of the district faded, replaced by an eerie silence. The dimly lit path led me to a small, ancient-looking shrine, seemingly untouched by time. Intrigued, I approached it. The air around me felt charged, as if the very atmosphere held secrets waiting to be discovered. I noticed a signpost nearby, its text worn down by age. It spoke of a local legend, an ancient spirit known to grant encounters that would profoundly affect one's life. To my surprise, I found a small, weathered box in front of the shrine. With curiosity getting the better of me, I opened it. Inside was a delicate key that shimmered in the dim light, along with a note that simply read, "Seek the door that resonates with your heart." My heart raced. I could hardly comprehend what it all meant, but I felt an overwhelming urge to follow this odd lead. I spent the next few hours combing Tokyo, seeking anything that could resemble a door that would resonate with my heart. The bustling streets, once alive with the chatter and laughter of people, became a blur as I searched for something, anything to fulfill the mysterious message. I stumbled across busy train stations, peaceful parks, and trendy shops, but nothing seemed to fit. As dusk turned into night, I found myself near the vast Yanaka district, a place known for its charming old architecture and an atmosphere that felt a world away from the modernity of Tokyo. I lingered there, soaking in the old-world charm, when I found a small, unassuming door set between two buildings, partially hidden by overgrown foliage. It was like a scene from a dream. With my heart pounding, I approached the door. The key felt warm in my pocket, almost alive, as if it knew the purpose of this moment. I hesitated for a second, considering the absurdity of the situation. Yet, an inexplicable force pushed me forward. I took out the key and inserted it into the rusty lock. To my astonishment, it turned effortlessly, the door creaking open to reveal a small room filled with ancient artifacts. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with history. I marveled at the shelves lined with peculiar objects, each with a story of its own. At the center of the room sat an elderly man dressed in traditional attire, his eyes gleaming with warmth and wisdom. He motioned for me to sit before him and began to speak. "You have found the door that resonates with your heart," he said in a gentle voice. "But more importantly, you have recognized a deeper calling within yourself. Every object here represents a path someone might take in their life, shaped by their choices, experiences, and dreams." I listened intently as he spoke of the myriad possibilities that each object held. He picked up a weathered compass and explained how it guided people in finding their way, not just in the physical sense, but also in matters of the heart and soul. As I reflected on his words, I realized I had been drifting through life without a clear direction, caught up in the mundane routines that dulled my senses. This unexpected encounter began to stir something inside me, a desire to seek out my true self, to find a purpose beyond the superficial distractions of modern life. But then, the old man looked deep into my eyes, as if peering into my very soul. "The world awaits," he said softly. "Every choice you make can lead you to new adventures, but remember, it's the journey of self-discovery that matters." Feeling a rush of emotions, I thanked him and left the room, the door closing silently behind me. The streets of Tokyo felt different now. Each corner, every sound a reminder that life was more than the superficial pace I had grown accustomed to. My heart was alive with possibilities, beckoning me to explore, to seek, and to discover who I really was. As I began to walk back to my hotel, thoughts raced through my mind. Perhaps my adventure in Tokyo was only the beginning. With a newfound sense of purpose guiding me, I felt ready for whatever awaited me next. Weeks later, I received an unexpected message from a travel agency advertising a unique tour that promised to lead participants to hidden gems around the world. My heartbeat quickened as I read the details. It seemed too serendipitous to be a coincidence. Just as I had discovered the resonating door in Tokyo, perhaps this new tour was another call to adventure. Excited, I signed up with enthusiasm. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was the next chapter of my journey, a chance to confront the unknown and further explore the depths of my own heart and soul. I reflected on how transformative my experience in Tokyo had been. It had sparked a fire within me, igniting a passion for travel and self-exploration that I had never fully embraced before. When the day of departure arrived, I packed my bags filled with excitement and a sense of anticipation. I boarded the plane and settled into my seat. Glancing out the window, it struck me once again how interconnected everything felt: the people, the places, the stories waiting to unfold. A new adventure awaited, and I was ready to embrace it with open arms. As the plane took off, soaring above the clouds, I couldn't help but wonder what this next journey would bring. What hidden lessons and unique experiences were waiting just beyond the horizon? I knew with certainty that I was not just a passive participant in life. I had chosen to engage with it fully. My heart was open to possibilities, and I was ready to see where the world would lead me next.